Story 1. Every paper I submit to professors that is a single page, I staple the corner to make them curious all day about what the second page contains. Story 2. Turn on various accessibility features on their computer, such as high contrast or voiceover. Adjust their cursor sensitivity to the lowest setting. This works especially well for people who are not skilled in information technology. Story 3. Just be constantly kind to them and never stop. That will confuse them. Also, it avoids any unintended consequences. Story 4. We had an employee leave, so I went to her desk and removed her keyboard keys. I took off all the keys and put them back on in alphabetical order. The two home row markers F and J wouldn't fit, so I placed them out of sequence. I went to someone else's desk, hid their keyboard, and then put the rearranged keyboard on their desk with the following note. As requested, here is your alphabetical keyboard. Information technology. The person was reportedly frustrated but actually plugged it in and tried to use it. Much to their disappointment, the keys were mapped like a regular keyboard, and they struggled with it. Their coworkers stopped them just before they called the help desk to complain. Story 5. Buy one of those birthday cards that plays music. Carefully remove the tiny device without tearing the piece of paper that activates the music when flattened. The device is smaller than a quarter and much thinner. Tape it under your boss's door when they are not around. The device usually lasts 4 hours, and I can almost guarantee they will never find it. Sit back and watch your boss repeatedly open the door out of annoyance. Story 6. We decorated a young man's office entirely in pink with "It's a Girl" banners while he was on vacation. He and his girlfriend were not expecting. He received congratulations from unsuspecting well-wishers for weeks after he returned. We have covered people's offices in gift wrap or foil, down to each pen or coat hanger. We wrapped someone's landline entirely in rubber bands. One manager's closed-door office was filled to the ceiling with balloons. One coworker was a big soccer fan. I turned her office into a soccer pitch. One person had a treasured figurine in his office. We took it for ransom, decorated his office with quiz clues, and he had to answer them all to get the figurine back. Story 7. If someone uses a mouse with their computer, place a sticky note or tape over the laser to make it appear broken. Story 8. One of my former colleagues used to move our items by small increments that made us doubt whether we had moved them ourselves or placed them there originally. Story 9. I used to empty my whole puncher into my colleague's umbrella that he kept next to his desk. Then I would wait anxiously for a rainy day and follow him outside. The look on his face while getting covered in confetti on one of Sydney's busiest streets was priceless. Story 10. Put some tape over the infrared sensor in their mouse. When they leave their desk, use the shortcut that turns their computer screen upside down. Story 11. A friend of mine once switched 2 keycaps from a colleague's keyboard. It was very entertaining. However, it backfired because the person reached the maximum number of password retries, leaving the sales team 1 member short for the afternoon. He admitted what he did. Story 12. My workplace currently has an infestation of tiny ducks. They are the size of a fingernail. At least a dozen have been found in our building, which contains the regulation compliance, information technology, human resources, various manager offices, and our laboratory. No one knows who placed them here, and my department, the laboratory chemists, keep moving them around when we find one. Someone gave me one, so I have decided to either put it in the meeting room where managers get reprimanded by compliance for violations or the fancy meeting room where people get fired. Story 13. We played a prank on a colleague in my office by changing the program to sandbox mode, making it appear as if there were 350 orders instead of the usual 50. She was surprised but immediately realized it was me. She is my friend. Story 14. At my first office job a while ago, my coworker often came in hungover, as did the rest of our team, but there were days he was really hurting. We played tricks on him by reversing the functions of the left and right mouse buttons and by taking a screenshot of his desktop and putting all icons into a folder. Watching the poor guy click around aimlessly was hilarious. Eventually, he got IT involved, who also couldn't figure out what was going on. 3 hours later, we finally told him, "Great guy, awesome team and company. I miss those days." Story 15. Move their mouse to the other side of their keyboard once a day for as long as you can. It is a minor annoyance, but the repetition will be hilarious. Story 16. Print memes and hide them around the office. My coworkers and I play a game where we leave small pictures around to find them. Story 17. The IT technician in our office used to get frustrated with people leaving their laptops unlocked when they left their desks for breaks. Now the system auto times out, but it did not back then. So he would log in and set up a fairly loud, noisy audio file to play, then quickly lock the computer. When they returned and unlocked it, the file would resume playing at full volume. Since they had no idea what was playing, it always took them a moment to find and close it. The file was named Lock Your PC Next Time. Thanks IT.mp3. Story 18. Every time there is a staff meeting and all the focus is on the speaker, discreetly call your coworker's cell phone to watch everyone stop and stare. Bonus points if you can raise the volume to the maximum before the meeting. Story 19. Switch the numbers on the keyboard so it is like a phone instead. Story 20. Place a small sticky note on the sensor at the bottom of the computer mouse. Story 21. As a network administrator, I entered 2 commands. The first required users to change their password. The second locked their ability to change their password. This is a short-term measure. You do not want to keep them that way for long. Work has to get done. Story 22. So, my coworker won a jar of honey at a statewide conference and decided to have a little fun. For 2 weeks, several teammates casually kept dropping honey into conversations like, "Oh, have you tried honey in your coffee?" Or, "Man, I could really go for some honey right now." It was all pretty subtle, and I was starting to wonder if I was just going crazy or if I missed the memo on some new honey cult. Then one morning, I was making my coffee and saw this jar of honey on the counter with my face on it. The label said, "Last name family honey." I nearly spat out my coffee. It turns out they made this custom jar that was actually from my hometown just to mess with me. The best part? 6 months later, someone new in the office casually asked, "Hey, how's your family's honey business doing these days?" The joke kept on giving, and I guess I'm in the honey business now. Story 23. I connect all the paper clips in one of those magnetic ring clip holders so when they pull on one, they get all of them. I used to love hearing my name yelled across the office. Story 24. A favorite prank for tradespeople to pull on apprentices here in Australia, and probably everywhere, is to send them into a hardware store for things like left-handed screwdrivers or a long wait. Story 25. We used to go to a conference every year. One person did not want to come, so they had to stay in the office and look after phones and similar tasks. I purchased a noise device and set it up under a desk. Every 5 minutes or so, a cricket would chirp. When we came back, they said they heard a cricket and sprayed under the desk, but it kept going. I call that a success. In another office where I worked, everyone complained that no one was replacing the milk. I was not drinking coffee at that time because I decided to take a break from it, so I went and got the milk. My desk was at the back of the floor with the kitchen at the front, so I would get the milk, pour myself a large glass, and walk through the office. I was called into the managing director's office because someone complained that I was drinking all the milk. I explained that I did not drink coffee, so the amount I had in my glass was equivalent to the coffee I would have consumed a couple of times a day. The managing director told me not to do it so obviously. I stopped getting the milk and stopped drinking it. The complaints about no one getting the milk continued. Story 26. If you have a ceiling with removable tiles, take one off, place a Bluetooth speaker inside, and play Baby Shark on repeat. Story 27. If they leave their computer unlocked, go into settings and reverse their mouse buttons. Story 28. I work at a liquor store, and once in a while, when a coworker is putting a familiar bottle in a familiar place, I say, "Wait, are you the one who puts that there?" and let them panic a little. It is soothing to my soul to tease them just a bit. Story 29. Also, one Friday before a long weekend, as Monday was a public holiday, I sent out an all-staff email thanking them for all their hard work on behalf of management. I said, as a reward, they could all take Monday off as free paid leave. I received many confused emails. Shortly thereafter, They restricted who could send all staff emails. Story 30. My previous job was in major electronics retail, so every department had a phone. The whole tone was a looped recording of an excited man trying to promote the products, which was very annoying to listen to for an extended time. I would call another department, answer the phone there, then put it on hold. Then I would go back to my phone and put it on hold as well, so both phones had each other on hold. Then I would page someone or a department saying, "Cameras line 1" or whatever. They would answer and hear the loop, thinking it was another store, and I would see how long it took them to hang up. Another person would call the speaking clock, park the call, and page it through. Story 31. Trust me on this. Story 32. Put voice-activated stickers on items like hand paper towel holders. Change someone's mouse cursor to the endless loading circle as the default. Depending on the person and how they would take it, switch 2 keyboard letters around. Add additional words to whiteboard lists that do not entirely make sense. Story 33. In a cubicle-type environment, swap your colleague's mouse with one from someone else, and watch them both try to figure out what is happening. Story 34. Our nameplates have job titles. For a while, the catering manager's title was Head Pokemon Catcher. Gotta catch them all. The library's nameplate read, Secret Entrance to Batman's Lair. Story 35. We have small scanners for barcodes on our desks, so I made a keychain of printed laminated insults in barcode form that I could scan as I walked by my coworker's desk while he was working. The insults would appear wherever they were typing. Story 36. Go by the water cooler whistling a catchy television theme tune. Story 37. My old colleague is still finding the stickers a year after I left. Story 38. Years ago, I wrote a script that would lock someone's computer remotely. One moment, they would be working on a spreadsheet or something else. Then suddenly a message would appear. Press Ctrl-Alt-Delete to unlock your computer. They would unlock it and continue working, and then I would do it again a few minutes later. All of them were IT professionals. I am actually a little disappointed at how long it took some of them to figure it out. Story 39. One time, a colleague was checking stock for an order. I went to him and pointed at the stock without saying anything. For about a minute, he kept asking, What's wrong? What is it? He grew more and more irritated while I remained in the same pose without speaking. Story 40. Put a whole fish in the refrigerator and act surprised when someone asks if you know anything about it. Story 41. Googly eyes on random office objects. Pareidolia everywhere. Story 42. Tell them the office coat stand is too short. You need a longer one. Send them to supplies to ask for a long stand. Story 43. Hide an orange in their belongings every other day and watch them slowly go insane. Story 44. Take a screenshot of their computer desktop, then hide all their icons in a folder. Set their background picture to the desktop screenshot. I have even had information technology clicking away at icons in frustration after the person called them. Story 45. Saying their name just under your breath without looking or reacting when they ask who keeps doing it. My friend did this to a coworker, and I was in tears trying not to ruin it for him. Story 46. If users have multiple monitors, swap the orientation when they leave their computer unlocked. Story 47. Wait until they leave their laptop unlocked, then invite everyone to a lunch homemade by your colleague. I did this once, and not only was it funny, but we all got homemade falafel. Story 48. I organized people's desks, arranging their objects from small to large, from left to right, in a meticulous way. Story 49. My coworkers hang all of their jackets on the backs of their chairs. I put scrunched up paper into their pockets when they are away from their desks. They are all suspicious of each other. Take most but not all of the staples out of their staplers. If you do this every couple of days, it is enough to keep them packing the stapler, but not suspicious enough to confront anyone about it. Story 50. A classic method is to switch the N and M keys on a keyboard. They pop right out if you lever up the corner with a pen. Story 51. If they walk away from their Windows personal computer without locking the screen, a quick keyboard command, Ctrl+Alt plus the down key, We'll invert the screen so everything is upside down. The same command, but using the up key restores the normal view. I have had a lot of fun with that over the years. Story 52. The most I ever did was turn a coworker's screen upside down by flipping the monitor. He sat down and looked slightly puzzled. He turned the monitor right side up and became even more confused because his desktop was now upside down. He had to call the information technology department. Story 53. Step 1. Lower everyone's desk chair to the lowest setting. Step 2. Apply petroleum jelly to the seat height adjustment paddle. Story 54. Freeze a can of shaving cream. Cut the can away. Place the frozen cylinder of cream into a drawer. It will expand to its full volume, sealing the drawer shut. When pulled hard enough, the entire contents of the shaving cream will erupt. Story 55. Developed a software background process that removes random characters from the keyboard buffer. Story 56. Take a screenshot of the desktop and set it as the screensaver with a password required. Story 57. Last year, I had a coworker who coped with his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder by playing with a bouncy ball in his free time. I ordered a bag of 50 bouncy balls and, over the course of a few weeks at the end of the school year, I put a few each day into his take-home bag when he was out of his classroom. He never figured out that it was me. Story 58. Often act toward that person as if you want to say something to them, but you think about it and then forget until they come and ask you about it. Then you tell them that everyone actually says it to you. Forget about it, all right? Story 59. Have a real plant and a fake plant that look very similar, probably succulents. Swap between the two randomly. Story 60. Figure out what they are making for lunch and make the same thing, only a lot tastier. Swap it and watch them struggle every day trying to remake it. Story 61. Plug a wireless mouse receiver into the back of the computer and occasionally move it around. Story 62. Place a sticky note under the mouse laser and slightly unplug the universal serial bus. Story 63. I just flat out ignore, overlook, and do not acknowledge anything legal sounding in emails from the other side. That is incorrect. It is great when their exasperation helps them learn. Story 64. Plug a wireless mouse into the computer and put the mouse in your pocket. At random points, move the mouse around. Story 65. Shrink wrap their desk. Shrink wrap each part individually. Story 66. We use metric tape measures all the time at work, then write down the measurements with a pencil plus or minus 3 millimeters deviation. We are notorious for adding any number at the end of whatever measurement. For example, 286 millimeters becomes 2,867 millimeters, which makes the first person measuring look ridiculous. It is almost a given the first measurement is way off. Story 67. Mispronounce their name, especially if it is easy to pronounce. Story 68. My favorite was always to 1. Flip their desktop background image vertically and set the flipped image as their background. 2. Use the personal computer screen orientation settings to rotate their desktop 180 degrees. Their computer now appears to be fine, but any mouse movements will be reversed or upside down. Story 69. I work in a laboratory, and there are various sized disposable glove boxes around the workstations. To play a prank on people, we replace the top layer of a box with a smaller size. It is a small thing but hilarious to watch. Story 70. I used to work in an office where I had to make a lot of phone calls while taking notes or using the computer, so I switched the mouse buttons to left-handed. Several coworkers got confused trying to show me something on the computer because the buttons were switched. This led to several mild pranks, such as changing the mouse speed, but one of the best was when someone swapped mice with the person next to them without telling them. Person A would move their mouse and person B would copy the movement, so the mouse did the right thing most of the time. Story 71. Flipping their computer mouse over every time you are at their desk. Story 72. Steal the staples from their stapler every morning. Tell them you moved 5 of their desk items 5 centimeters to the left, but do not say which items. Do nothing, and when you see them, ask, "Did you find it yet?" Then walk away. Story 73. Say their names slightly differently each time you say it. Names Steve, Stoive, Stuve, Stave, Stuff. Story 74. Switch the coffee flavors or move the Keurig 1 inch to the left every day until someone notices. Story 75. Make them believe tomorrow is Saturday when it is really Friday. Story 76. Buy black parachute cord at Home Depot. Tie the target chair to something sturdy after pushing it in all the way. Watch them be puzzled as to why they cannot pull out their chair. Story 77. They make small sound cards you can hide. Kittens, crickets. Story 78. Flip all the peripherals on their desk upside down. If they leave their laptop unlocked, message someone else and say something harmless like, "I got hacked because I didn't lock my laptop." Story 79. Don't do that. You never know who you are dealing with at the place where they need to pay bills. Keep the business place just that, business. Story 80. Unplug headphones only slightly so it looks like they are still plugged in. They will scramble when they receive a call and hear that it is full audio. Story 81. If you work in an office with universal serial bus backports, get scented chips and make sure they have a smell people dislike. Alternatively, use random noise generators. They cost about $25, have a long life, and my personal favorite is placing them in the back of drawers in light fittings and sometimes parts of cars. The cat, baby, dog, and goat are excellent. Story 82. Declining when they ask to use your computer to clock in. Story 83. There are versions of this for many different printer brands, or you can edit it to make your own. I used it myself and it worked well. Story 84. Black electrical tape disappears on the old interoffice phones. Put a piece on the hang-up button and call them from your cell phone. There is only one way to make a ringing phone stop ringing. Nobody has an alternative plan. People look disoriented, trying to figure it out. Story 85. There is absolutely no context to this other randomness, and the prank war was escalating. One afternoon, I found a 12-foot canoe outside my apartment by the dumpster. Most of my colleagues were out of state at a conference, so I and another colleague put it in a third colleague's office for when he got back. His office is about 13 feet by 13 feet, so we had to prop it on his hutch. Story 86. Send Kung Fu movie death visage images to your friends to express how you truly feel. Story 87. Put clear adhesive tape on the drawers of their desk. Watch them struggle to open them. Story 88. Wait until they leave their laptop unlocked. Then invite everyone to a lunch homemade by your colleague. I did this once, and not only was it funny, but we all got homemade falafel. Story 89. Get a cake with icing that says congratulations on the pregnancy. Story 90. Just don't jump out at coworkers from hiding places while yelling, "Boo." I used to work in retail and a coworker did this to me, but it wasn't actually me and scared a customer. Story 91. Take away their stapler and replace it with a broken stapler. Story 92. When leaving their desk unattended, users should turn their personal computer screen upside down. Story 93. In college on finals day, I placed glass stink bombs under random chairs in every testing room while everyone was at lunch. When they returned for testing, each of those vials was smashed, making the room smell like sulfur. It was great hearing all the theories and conclusions about what happened the next day. Then one person came forward and claimed they found a broken vial. It was pretty great. Story 94. My dad hit a siren that he rigged to be remote-controlled above his work buddy's desk. He gave the control to another guy who drives by their building to do inspections once a month. He presses it to scare the poor guy. He took me to work once when I was a kid, and I got to hear it and then see his ensuing meltdown. It was terrifying but hilarious. Story 95. Define harmless. When I started working in an office 25 years ago, we played pranks on each other all the time. Some of them would not be possible today, but they may give you some ideas. In Windows 95, there was a startup folder, and when the computer started, any executable in that folder would run. It was simple to make a program that would pop up a critical error window directing the user to restart the machine. As soon as that program started, it went to a folder and looked for a specific text file, and if the file existed, its contents would be displayed in the critical error message. I had access to my cubemate's computer because no one locked theirs if they had to go somewhere. So I made myself a backdoor. He would get the error message and restart a few times before I moved the text file from the folder and made the program abort. Sometimes I would change the message while he was cursing about his computer. Sometimes I would wait days, then get him to restart 5 or 6 times. You could call any phone on the company campus using a 4-digit extension, including the CEO's desk phone. They also started issuing us pagers with numbers only. So I would call the target's pager and leave the CEO's extension followed by 911. We had interoffice mail with manila envelopes that you could send to anyone. All you needed was their last name and mail stop number. One guy was eating a banana in my cubicle and left his peel on my desk. So I sent it back to him. Our manager had a stuffed Dilbert doll that he kept on his desk. One of us grabbed it. We tied his hands behind his back with string and made a blindfold for him. Then we started sending Polaroid pictures of Dilbert from all over the building and sent ransom demands via a made-up email account. That went on for about 3 months. Story 96. A girl at work expressed a dislike of Nicolas Cage. I printed about 51-inch square pictures of the "You Don't Say" meme and taped them all over the store in random out-of-the-way places. When she started finding them, she told her family how annoying she found it. Her father and brother did the same around the family home. It is always fun when you can make someone enjoy being annoyed. Story 97. Place a random piece of fruit or vegetable on their chair every day. Story 98. Not sure if it has been said, but put a little sticky note piece on the mouse laser and you will think it is broken. Haha. Story 99. If they have one of those standing desks, log into it remotely and change the height slightly every time they are not at their desk. Story 100. A sticker on the bottom of their mouse covers the sensor. Story 101. Take a screenshot of their desktop, hide all icons, and set the screenshot as their wallpaper. Story 102. Replace all the ink tubes in their pens with unusual colors. Story 103. Change the screen resolution to 800 by 600 pixels. Set it to grayscale, and change the default fonts in programs like Word or Excel to Wingdings. Take a screenshot of the desktop, hide all shortcuts in the Documents folder, and set the printer to print 4 pages per sheet, double-sided. If all else fails, you can create a batch file that displays a notification on screen with the message. Due to unauthorized usage on this computer, you are requested to immediately see name. Use the name of someone who does not work for your company, so they will be looking for a person who does not exist. Story 104. If there is ever a work party and there is a keg of liquid, you can always put 52.6 grams of fentanyl inside for a family-friendly harmless prank. Story 105. My coworker hated cameras, so on my break, I would pull out my phone and pretend to use Snapchat on her. She would giggle and pretend to run, but I only did it occasionally so she would not get too frustrated with me. I also dislike cameras, so I would get chased back in return. I also enjoyed singing and dancing terribly beside coworkers. They would get a little embarrassed, but most of it was on me, so they would laugh along. Story 106. For coworkers who do not lock their personal computers, take a screenshot of their desktop and set it as their background image. It is a long play. Story 107. My daughter was a teacher at the school where I worked in information technology. The day before her 39th birthday, I group emailed the staff saying she was turning 40. The next day, people were saying naughty 40 and life begins at 40, and similar things to her all day long. They even bought her a 40th birthday cake for morning tea. She was upset all day that they got her age wrong. Then someone reported me. It was my best father-daughter prank ever. Story 108. I always used to call one of the leaders by either a slightly wrong name or mispronounce her name. She was not my direct supervisor, but her direct reports were terrified of her. When we had a larger group meeting, I would mention things they had said to me about her, which they were too afraid to bring up as an innocent comment or question. I also once defecated in her desk drawer. Story 109. Tell them to empty the hot water from the coffee machine. Story 110. I am a cook, and we have an ongoing prank in our kitchen where we swap our coworkers' coffee with whatever might pass off as coffee at a quick glance. Soy sauce, marinade, Worcestershire sauce, and similar liquids often fail because of temperature or smell, but when it works, it is always a laugh. Story 111. I don't bother anymore. I suppose you could blurt out the word puzzle. Story 112. Startle them by sneezing unexpectedly and making it look unplanned. Story 113. Place a note on their desk to call back Mr. Lion and leave the number for the local zoo. Story 114. I like to jump out at my colleagues when they are exiting the bathroom. So far, it has been harmless, but they are all getting older, so I should probably stop before someone gets hurt. Story 115. Move everything on their desk a couple of inches. If their computer is unlocked, switch the mouse from left click to right click. Story 116. Swapped a couple of keys on the keyboard as payback to someone who hid my lunch. Hilarious. Story 117. Depends on the type of profession. I weigh a lot of product and usually round it up to the nearest tenth to annoy a worker who wants the exact number in decimal. Story 118. Take something off everyone's desk and put it in another employee's desk drawer. When everyone arrives at work, start planting the seed by saying that things are missing from your desk. Once a good number of others have also noticed something missing, pretend to walk around randomly looking for the items before asking the person you planted the stuff on to open their drawer. If they are not there, open it yourself and reveal the office kleptomaniac. Do this to an employee who can handle this sort of thing and only in an office with a good culture where most people will understand that it's a setup, a joke, and will not go to human resources to complain about their items. Story 119. Back in the day, it was taking the ball out of their computer mouse. Story 120. When they leave their computer without locking it, send a mass email to say lunch is on them today. Story 121. In the late 1990s, I used to call the talking clock and then forward it to a colleague. At the third stroke, it would be announced. It seems pretty lame now that I think about it. Story 122. If they step away from their desk without locking their computer, open their Microsoft Teams application, apply some funny video filters, and then close it. Another classic move is to open a group chat on Microsoft Teams and leave a message saying, "Hi everyone. If you are in the office anytime this week, coffee is on me." Story 123. Dig a little hole in the margarine, put a piece of chocolate in it, then cover it up. Story 124. Take out their Bluetooth mouse receiver and replace it with yours. Then move your mouse every time they move theirs. You can move it randomly or try to copy their movements. Either way is good fun. Story 125. Reverse the buttons on their mouse. If they use two computer monitors, switch left and right. Story 126. See Jenny. She has 6 family-sized blocks of chocolate. She can't eat them, so help yourself. Story 127. Look up tiny ducks on Amazon. They are pretty cheap. You will want a pack or two of 100. Hide them all over the workplace. Put some in obvious spots so people know they are there, but hide some in difficult-to-find places as well. The next step is optional. Tell everyone that you have hidden 100 to 200 tiny ducks around the workplace. You could even offer a prize to whoever finds the most. I did this at my last workplace, and they loved it until about duck number 60. Then they got really annoyed trying to find the last 40 ducks hidden in more difficult spots. Have fun. Story 128. When they still had the speaking clock, we used to call it and then transfer the call to someone for a laugh. Story 129. The current project involves leaving little notes all over a colleague's office as reminders or random words. Some notes are in plain sight, while others are hidden behind or inside objects. It has been a couple of months, and they have not commented on or removed any that I am aware of. It began as an experiment to see how long it would take to be noticed. Now, it feels more like a test of how unobservant this person is. Story 130. Wrap sticky tape around a colleague's headset microphone. Add a bit more each day or week. You will hear them start talking louder as people complain their voice is muffled. This works best with old-school headsets where the microphone has a foam bulb cover. The tape is hidden by the foam. You can also do the same with the telephone handset. Remove the cover of the handset and jam a ball of paper or other objects inside to make it not work. A colleague requested a new phone 4 times before someone revealed the joke. Story 131. Add a piece of adhesive tape under the sensor of an optical mouse. It makes the mouse movement less smooth. Apply it carefully so the change is subtle and can be missed during a casual glance. Story 132. Swap the 1 to 3 and 7 to 9 keycaps on their keyboard's numeric pad. It does not even look out of place. Story 133. Take all the letter keys off their keyboard and arrange them in alphabetical order. Story 134. A friend of mine on his last day found the hardest to find spot in the office and installed one of those annoyance devices that would last a very long time and intermittently beep. Story 135. I was setting up a colleague's new MacBook and changed the command for text-to-speech to Command+C and set the dialogue to Russian. So whenever they highlighted text to copy it, it would read everything they highlighted in Russian as well as copying it. They were still able to copy and paste via keyboard shortcuts, but someone was reciting it all the time. It went on for a few weeks and was a good laugh when I ended up having to explain it. Story 136. Don't be that person at work. We had someone who did harmless things like putting stickers on people's backs and hiding pens for fun, and we all got tired of it quickly. So much so that we collectively went to human resources and had him fired after he received multiple warnings to stop. Story 137. I personally say, get on their Minecraft account, get their pet dog, replace it with a cat in the same place with the same name and color. In the update, when workers are bad at work and are close to being fired, the wolf runs away and a cat replaces it. Story 138. Plugged a radio frequency mouse and keyboard dongle into their personal computer. From my office, I could just about see his screen. Whenever he visited /. I would simply hit the arrow down key, scrolling the page quickly to the bottom, but only for /. After a while, I was asked to help diagnose the issue. I stood next to him, with my tiny keyboard hidden behind my back. The problem still happened only when he went to /. He had no clue, and it took a lot of self-control not to lose it right there. Eventually, I pulled out the tiny USB port receiver and said, "That should solve your problem," and pocketed it. To this day, I have no idea why he chose to visit /. so often. Story 139. Spam their inbox under the pseudonym Martha, with grossly misspelled phrases professing your love in a narcissistic way, like Martha from Baby Reindeer. I just ate an egg. Story 140. I worked for a very meticulous doctor, and I often had to restock his room and clean up. He used to line up all his instruments perfectly, and all the frames on his wall were exactly straight. The photos and items on his desk were arranged precisely. I enjoyed going in there and subtly adjusting everything to be slightly crooked or facing a different direction. It would irritate him greatly, but he never accused anyone of messing with him. Story 141. Whenever you hang up on someone and then need to call them back, call them but act like the previous phone call did not happen. Ask them the same questions you already did. I did that recently, and it confused them completely. Story 142. If your work has an internal mail service between office locations, get a new internal envelope so they cannot look back at where it came from and fill it with random stationery. Then mail it to them. Story 143. Sometimes when it is quiet, pull a ceiling tile above their desk. Toss in one of those birthday cards that plays "Happy Birthday to You" in chimes, and refit the tile. You would be surprised how long those batteries last and how difficult it is to identify the source of the muffled high-frequency tones. Story 144. We used to take the ball out of their mouse, but I guess that does not work anymore. Story 145. We got Bluetooth-enabled sit-stand desks after the refurbishment, but nobody knew they were Bluetooth-controlled. I connected my coworker in front of my desk to my phone and would slightly raise or lower it at random times. He would just do a little jump when that happened. I could barely control my laughter. Story 146. Take a screenshot of their desktop and set it as the desktop background image. Then configure the settings so that desktop icons are not displayed. Sit back and enjoy as they click on the icons and get frustrated because the icons do not respond to clicks. Story 147. If it is Windows, change the mouse cursor to the processing cursor with the spinning wheel, and reduce the mouse speed by a couple of notches. Watch how frustrated they become, thinking there is something wrong with their computer. Story 148. Mispronounce something common in your workplace with confidence. Have your colleagues agree with you. Wait until they start mispronouncing it also, then call them out on their incorrect pronunciation. Take their partner as a trophy. Story 149. I had a young man start at my work who wasn't very bright, but I wanted to mess with his head. One morning we were working, and he came out to me drinking coffee out of his dirty old work boot at 5:30 a.m. It took him years and someone telling on me to realize that I had put a normal glass in the boot, so he wasn't actually drinking out of it. It blew his mind. I made sure to spill some coffee so it was wet. It was a good bit of harmless fun. Yes, I am Australian. No, we do not claim ray gun. Story 150. Tie their newborn to a metal pole and dangle them out of the 12th story window. That always gives the boys a good laugh at the office. Story 151. Steal someone's keys to their car at the start of the day. Then go and start their car in the parking lot and turn the lights on. Let the air out of one tire and the spare tire. Let it run all day. When they come back to the car at the end of the day, the keys will be locked inside, the battery will be dead, it will be out of fuel, and the spare tire will be flat. They will only discover the next problem after spending a long time resolving the previous one. Story 152. Switching out the decaffeinated coffee with regular coffee and watching as your coworkers try to figure out why they suddenly have so much energy. It is the little things that bring the most joy in an office setting. Story 153. I used to do some things in my old office that would annoy some people. We had a plant. One person in my office wanted the plant in a certain position. I would move the plant a few centimeters over each morning, and he would get very upset. We did this every day for years. The same person also had an issue with the blinds. We used to flip a single part of the blind around so it was twisted a bit. A friend of mine taped the handset of his phone to the base or would randomly cut a certain wire so the phone had no network. We had a roll of Velcro in the office, so we Velcroed everything on someone's desk down, the keyboard, the pens, the mouse, the cables, the cups, everything. We hid someone's chair. The office had a warehouse area, so we took his chair and put it up on a rack. I didn't see the reaction the next day because I was off work on annual leave, but apparently the whole office was looking for the chair for hours and couldn't find it. They even walked past it but didn't look up to see it on the rack. One person brought a roll of herring into the office and microwaved it for lunch. That smell stuck to the office for more than 2 weeks. Story 154. This gadget emits a short beep at random times. It drove my children mad. Story 155. Plug their keyboard into a different computer. Swap the keys on the computer. Create a mock-up of the local news website with a headline and picture suggesting their favorite sportsman is being traded. Have everyone call them whenever they have a toilet break so they have a large number of missed calls. When they call back, say, "Must be a glitch." Use masking tape to outline the silhouette of a body next to their workstation. Tell them it is Fancy Dress Friday coming up. Make up fake email trails that they did not send and ask them to refrain from sending such ridiculous messages. Have everyone consistently refer to the new person in the office by the wrong name in front of them. Discuss a great new series on Netflix in front of them. Make up the name of the series. Tell them someone has changed their pronouns and is very sensitive about it. Take a screenshot of their desktop, set it as a background, and hide their desktop icons in a folder called Do Not Open. Tell them it is the boss's birthday. Leave 5 cents under their desk every day. Slightly raise their seat 4 days a week. On the 5th day, slightly lower it. Run your mouse into their computer. Mimic their mouse movements. Add a pen to their desk every day. Stick one post-it note to the bottom of their desk every day. Play entrance music every time they walk in. Change your name to theirs in Microsoft Teams meetings and post bizarre comments or questions in the chat. Story 156. One of my coworkers kept forgetting his coffee mug on my desk after coming over to chat. I hid his mug behind some items on a shelf in the room where he works. Hours later, he came back to me and said, "Where's my coffee mug? And why does it smell like it is in the room with me?" Turns out he searched for it for a long time. When he checked the shelf, the mug was just outside his field of view, so he could not find it. Story 157. Just get out of their way. Let their mistakes go through to the goalkeeper. Story 158. Download Desktop Goose on your computer. A little goose will waddle around your screen, leaving muddy footprints, and it will attack and steal the cursor. Story 159. Put a small piece of post-it note under the mouse sensor. Story 160. If someone left their computer unlocked when they walked away, I would change their wallpaper to something like Barbie or Hello Kitty. Then, in group policy, I would change it so they could not change their wallpaper. Story 161. I move or hide things when someone is not looking. It is funny to see their confusion when they come back and wonder where it went. Sometimes I give it back once they figure it out, or while they go looking, I put it back. Story 162. My favorite go-to is to print something really wholesome, like a kitten, puppy, or even the words hello or have a great day, small enough to trim down and stick over the sensor on their mouse with tape. You will hear them grumble about not having enough coffee, complaining, stupid thing, as it doesn't work, then suddenly say, ah, how sweet, as they take the tape off. If I ever had a colleague who I knew was going through tough times personally, it would say, who's awesome? You are. Have a great day. Story 163. Back in the early 2000s, corporate office personal computers had a shortcut that allowed you to rotate the screen using Control, Alternate, and arrow keys. I believe it worked even if the computer was locked. I would randomly do that to people on occasion. They probably disliked me, but definitely liked having me around. I don't know if it still works, but it is worth trying. It is pretty harmless and very annoying at the same time. Story 164. Purchase a device from Amazon that produces a cricket chirping noise. Hide it in their office or on their desk, and observe as they gradually lose their composure. Story 165. I had a couple of pranks over the years, but I think my favorite was changing a colleague's keyboard layout from QWERTY to Dvorak. If you install the program correctly, it creates an option on the taskbar of Windows to switch between the two easily. It just needs some planning and maybe 2 minutes with access to their workstation. Story 166. Wrap their computer, peripherals, and all stationery on their desk in tin foil. We did this to someone ages ago. It was the best. Literally every single pencil, stapler, and staples were all wrapped in foil. Story 167. When I used to work in a warehouse, I wrapped people's belongings in plastic wrap. I did not start this conflict. I only won the battle by wrapping his vape. Story 168. Get an annoying printed circuit board for $5 and watch them lose their mind. Story 169. Saying, bless you or similar phrases for everything except a sneeze. Yawn, bless you. Cough, Gesundheit. Hiccup. I tell them to be quiet or say, enough's enough. You get the idea. Story 170. Swap the M and N keys on a coworker's keyboard and watch the frustration begin. Works best with two-fingered typists. Story 171. My dad would occasionally replace coworkers' keyboards with keyboards filled with grass seeds, causing confusion as the keyboards turned into lawns. Story 172. Take a picture of their mobile phone, and when they go out for lunch, send them the picture with a message that they left their phone on the desk. Story 173. Gradually change the sensitivity settings on their computer mouse and leave leaflets about multiple sclerosis and motor neuron disease in the break room. Story 174. A coworker had a very long vacation. He found a discarded keyboard and planted cress seeds all over it. He sprayed it with water for about a week. He switched it with his keyboard right before he got back. The keyboard was fully overgrown by then. Story 175. I used to work in an office filled with cubicles. One day, a coworker brought in many balloons and plastic wrap. She used the plastic to seal the entrance to her cubicle and then blew up about 50 balloons, filling every space inside. The balloons were stacked about 6 feet high. When the coworker returned to find her cubicle like that, we all had a good laugh. However, after clearing the balloons, she discovered her computer had failed due to overheating caused by the balloons. Story 176. Flip their computer screen upside down with Control, Alternate, and down arrow keys. Watch the confusion unfold as they try to figure out why gravity betrayed their monitor. Story 177. Place a small piece of adhesive tape over the red light-emitting diode sensor underneath their computer mouse. It takes them a long time to figure out what happened to their mouse. Story 178. Hide a small audio device with a recorded cat meowing and play it at random intervals. Story 179. If your phone system has language choices, Finnish is a fun one to reset the phone to. It looks like total nonsense to your average monolingual American but is easily fixed. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.